back to the 815 Exchange. I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 once again for episode 47 of the 815 Exchange. And my goodness. We're going to start off. I'm going to get a little sentimental here. Even though I guess this is not really a milestone episode. I feel like this is an episode I might come back to later on in the future. But, you know, I kind of went ghost. I've been kind of ghost on social media for the past couple of days. Kind of took the week to reflect a little bit and kind of evaluate the circumstances of this show, this podcast, and just kind of what I want to do content-wise. And, yeah, just kind of evaluating some things. You know, sometimes you guys take a step back in life and, you know, look at some stuff, evaluate, you know, make sure you're still going in the right direction. And, yeah. So I did that. So, you know, after doing that, I tweeted something out. I guess I have to explain. I tweeted something out last night. And I said, it's probably right here. I'm the best in the world at what I do. And even though I can't say that I have the numbers, even though I'm a big numbers guy, I'm a big logical guy, as you may have been able to tell by some of my takes here, I don't have the numbers to back that claim up. But I feel, ladies and gentlemen, if this is your first time watching, hopefully I don't sound too conceited. Trust me, I'm not sometimes. But I can assure you that I am the best in the world at what I do. There's nobody, and there's no other podcast quite like the 815 Exchange. So buckle in and get ready for probably one of the best hours or so. We won't completely say an hour. This could be a shorter one, could be a longer one. I don't really know until I've recorded it. But get ready for one of the best, you know, hour or so's of your week. As I go down a bunch of sports, we got plenty to talk about. Euros, Wimbledon just started today, so if you see me looking over there, that's what I'm looking at. Plenty of NBA news, whole lot of stuff to talk about. And as always, we have timestamps in the description. So if you're looking to skip to a particular topic, I get it. This is long form content. It's, you know, it's long. It can be difficult to have all of the time to watch this in its full capacity. So if you're watching this on your phone, watching this on your laptop, feel free. Go to the description. I encourage it, actually. Go ahead. Skip to whatever you want to find. You can find me talk about that. And yeah, feel free to do that. As always, my social media is also, I'll probably be more active this week, got more to talk about. I was kind of active yesterday because Olympic Trials were going on. But Twitter, Snap, IG, all that stuff in the description. So if you're looking to follow me on one of those, TikTok, all that in the description. Remember, as always, if you are enjoying the content, to like, share, and subscribe. It helps grow the channel and, you know, all that jazz. You've heard it a million times from every YouTuber you've ever watched. So, yeah, remember to like, share, and subscribe. It is much, much, much so appreciated. So, without further ado, I guess it's time for me to back up my best in the world claim. And I don't know exactly which one to start off with. So we're going to start off with an old favorite. You know, I usually start off with soccer, combat sports, and we had a little bit of stuff happen in combat sports, and we might not have it next week, even though we'll definitely have it the week after. Ladies and gentlemen, that means we're going to start off with a little bit of boxing. Yes, boxing will kick off our combat sports segment today, as we had some big moves being made, and there's something I would definitely want to talk about, and I've talked about it before here on this podcast concerning the 135-pound division. But Gervonta Tank Davis went up to 140. We've seen him bounce from 130 to 135 to back to 130 to now at 140. It was a big test. It was a big test. I've liked, even though they haven't really followed through on facing each other, and I'll get to that. I do appreciate how each of, I guess, the Fantastic Four, I don't know what I called them back then when I made that segment. I forget what episode it was. But the four of the lightweight, you know, obviously T.O., Devin Haney, Gervonta, and of course Ryan Garcia. Four guys that a lot of people tabbed as the future, and one of, you know, four guys with big futures, you know, in the boxing game, in the fight game. All around that 135 division. It's all kind of circled around there. All of them have kind of taken on tests, so I can appreciate that. Ryan with Luke earlier in the year. Gervonta here with Barrios, of course, Loma and Lopez, and we got that situation. I'll talk about that because Loma also fought this week. Haney recently with Linares, so yeah, plenty of fighting going around, just not against each other, even though that's what they keep claiming. But nonetheless, let's get to the task at hand here, and that's Tank Davis. proved that he's got the skills. He proved absolutely in this fight that he has the skills. It took the 11th round. It took him to the 11th round. Some people even have Barrios up at one point in time. Floyd actually told him, and this is after a 2 knockdown round for Gervonta, and told Tank that he was losing this fight. And it's very plausible that he was losing this fight. Barrios was bringing the fight to him. He showed off an amazing chin. An amazing chin from Mario Barrios. Some of the shots he took from Tank, and he was firing right back. Of course, he got knocked down, but came back strong, won some rounds after that. So, shout out to Barrios. I know Tank getting the TKO here in the 11th round with some great body work. Another thing I liked with Barrios' game, Tank got him down, though, ironically, with the body shot, grazed the ribs, and if you hit that right spot on that rib, that can take you out, and that's what took Barrios out. Tank's power, I don't think a lot of people have tabbed his future at 140. I also saw an article about this from ESPN. I don't know if his future's at 140, even though the power has translated, and he's still very good, and he just beat one of the top guys at 140 against like Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez, and those titleist holders. Like, Taylor's the undisputed champ, and with his length and what he's able to do, I don't know if Tank can. He was losing this fight against Barrios, right? At one point in time. At least at one point in time. It was a very close fight. I don't think he beats Taylor and such, so I don't know if his future's at 140. Again, I think 135, we need to see more work. 135 might just be the perfect mix for Tank. Of course, he's got to deal with, even though it shouldn't really be too much of an issue when I think about it. The whole weight thing, I don't really think that. I'm not really buying that as an excuse. But, good work from him. Good win against Barrios. Barrios will be back. He showed he's very good. But yeah, Tank, shout out to him. He showed he's got the skills. And the other fight, of course, this week was Vasily Lomachenko taking on Nakatani, and this was, honestly, it was dominant. It was pure domination from start to finish, from bell to bell. 9th round TKO for Loma. Nakatani tried to pull out every trick in the book. Every single trick in the book, everything he could find, he tried to pull out against Loma. Nothing was working. Absolutely nothing was working. And yeah, Loma just makes quick. It wasn't quick work, but it was dominant. It was very dominant work, or a statement win for Loma. Still kind of establishing himself, even though we've kind of turned our attention, because a lot of people believe that's where their legacy lies, and you could argue that that is where the four, the Fantastic Four, I guess we're calling them the Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four, that's where their, legacy lies. But Loma is definitely still a top dog, and a guy I think that beats at least, 3/4, 2/4 of them. Certainly beats Haney and Garcia, I think, at this stage. And that brings me to another segment of Chris fixes the lightweight division via my very own matchmaking skills. Because I think this is very clear, because for some reason boxing has an issue with making the matchups that the people want happen. So I'm going to so gracefully once again lay this out for boxing promotions around the world. Very simple. Tio, we'll start off with Tio since he's a champ, right? He's not the undisputed champ, but he's pretty close to it. So he's top dog at 135. He's, of course, has a pretty imminent move up to 140 coming, but for now at 135 I'll matchmake for him. He's got George Kambosos. Of course, he caught COVID. Hopefully, Tio's healthy and he's back at, Tio level. Doesn't, it's not some big deal. And something that's going to take him out and, deplete his skills. Of course, he's got to face Kambosos, and I'm sure that's not just going to be something he just runs over. I'm sure he's not just going to run over Kambosos. Kambosos is a very good fighter. I still expect Tio to win, and in this scenario, we're going to say theoretically Tio wins against Kambosos. I think the next fight should be against Devin Haney so we can get that undisputed champion. I think every guy that has multiple titles at one weight class, once you reach that point, if you're you have multiple titles, you have the ring, the WBA, whatever it is, right? You should be going for undisputed. You should be trying to take out the best of the best and trying to seat yourself as the king of that division. You should absolutely be going for that. Unless you're about to move up, you should be going for undisputed, and I think Tio would be trying to go for undisputed, and I think that Devin Haney fight after Kambosos is the logical one to make, so we do get a true 135-pound king. So you got Lopez beating Kambosos in the scenario, him versus Haney. Not Teofimo Lopez, but Gervonta Tank Davis should be taking on Vasily Lomachenko next. It just makes too much sense. It honestly just makes too much sense. Stylistically, it makes too much sense. Weight class wise, again, Loma, like Tank, a guy that people know that if they say stuck at 130, could dominate. But they're also still very, very effective and dominant at 135 or even higher than that. So I think that just makes too much sense from a size standpoint, from a skill standpoint. Tank versus Loma makes too much sense. And also, I think it's a great way for one of those two to make a clear statement to Teofimo Lopez and really to the boxing world that he might not be the only alpha dog here. I'm well deserving of a title shot and being able to prove that I am the best lightweight on the planet. So I think Tank versus Loma, I think that's the matchup to make. It makes too much sense. Please make that happen, because that would be a heck of a fight. And we'll probably do a pretty good pay-per-view number, if I'm being honest. I think that's the fight to make. Even though I know top-ranked PBC, we got to deal with that, but nonetheless, that's the matchup to make. Let's see. Haney, of course, I got that. So I guess that leaves Ryan Garcia, who is now returning back from his hiatus due to anxiety and, mental issues, which I get it. There was another fighter, I think, even though that was a different scenario, so I won't talk about Violent Bob Ross. But, Garcia, important to take care of your mental health. You in the audience, you watching right there, please take care of your mental. Super important. One of the most powerful things, honestly, in one of my opinion, probably the most powerful thing you have is up here. So, yeah, take care of that. Definitely take care of that. And yeah, respect to Garcia for doing that. But he's back. He's been talking a lot. I've talked about it the past couple weeks. I don't really appreciate him talking if he doesn't have a fight set up. But King Riot is back. And he might as well take on Fortuna, since, that was the fight to make. I think they should just remake that one. I'm not sure if he's moved on to a different opponent. He might have. But honestly, Fortuna, Javier Fortuna, Ryan Garcia, I think that's the matchup to make. Garcia handle his business. Since it was made up, don't want any people to say you were ducking Fortuna for whatever reason. Make that matchup. Garcia passes another test. Keep moving him up the echelon. But I think he's the furthest behind. Even though I kind of would say him and Haney on the same level. Then you got Tank, and then you got TL. If I'm ranking the four right now, that would be my personal power rankings. But, yeah, those are the matchups I think should happen. You can let me know what you were thinking. Quickly, we're going to move over to a very, very brief MMA selection. We had another UFC fight night, and it was headlined by Drago. We have Volkov versus Gane, Cyril Gane. It's very rare that you see a heavyweight this skilled. It's very, very rare that you see a heavyweight this skilled. And him, Udine, Volkov, in the way that he did, sets up a bevy of very, very interesting matchups we have at the heavyweight division for him. Again, we got a lot of uncertainty. It was supposed to be Nagano versus Jones, but Jones was complaining about money. Now it's kind of, we don't know. Then it was Nagano versus Lewis. We don't know. We don't really know. Maybe I need to fix the heavyweight division, right? Ideally, I guess if I'm going to do this, I think you get your Jones versus Nagano matchup. You pay him whatever you got to, whatever, Jones stop running, whatever it is, right? Whatever the circumstances is. Not saying that John Jones is running, but make that happen. And then you set up the number one contender spot. You got Derek Lewis, Cyril Gane. I think that would be the ultimate test for Gane to see if he's really ready for Nagano, ready for those top heavyweights. Of course, you still got Stipe, who is another interesting, scenario here. Maybe have Stipe take on Jairo Rosenstrike. I think that could be an interesting matchup. So yeah, I think that's the way. I kind of actually did that. I did that pretty fast. But I think that's how I would grade out the heavyweight division for the UFC. Of course, no combat sports next week unless something happens in boxing or UFC that I'll talk about. But July the 10th, the week after, I guess next week I might talk about it because we got Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus the notorious Conor McGregor, and I'm sure all eyes will be on that, and that's going to be a super interesting matchup. We also got the Sugar Show on that card and a bunch of other matchups, so we'll definitely put some predictions out for that. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, that was Combat Sports. Okay, now we're going to move on to the NBA. Normally, this is, I guess, the main event. I usually call it the main event. I usually have it because of At the Buzzer. Usually have it right before the roundup, but we're going to get straight to it because we reached the conference finals, ladies and gentlemen, and I know you've probably been waiting for me to talk about basketball. It's probably the headlining topic. I probably put in the title, all the stuff, thumbnail, blah, 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 blah. You get it, right? Because we've got some interesting developments here. The Suns. CP3 returned this past week. Didn't go too well in Game 3, but in Game 4, it definitely went much better for the Suns. In a very defensive matchup, they get the win over the Clippers, 84-80. DeAndre Ayton. I feel like we talk about Ayton every week. I'm giving Ayton his flowers. I give him his flowers every week, but I'm definitely giving him his flowers this week. Game 4, 19-22. 19-22 for Ayton, who honestly at this point, if you're not considering him amongst the best centers in the league, or at least the very least, one of the best young players and young centers, young big men in the league, then I don't know what you're doing. You probably shouldn't be qualified to speak on the NBA. But listen, he's got the goods. Number 1 pick for a reason. I said it last week. I'll say it again. He was huge, absolutely huge in this game. Now let's talk about Paul George. Let's talk about PG. On paper, he had 23-16. Was it? Yeah, 23. Or is that right? I think it was 23, 13, and 16. Or something like that. It may have been 23 and 16. I have 23 and 16 on my notes. On paper, that looks like, okay, Paul George is back, right? But if you look into it, PG went 5 for 20 in this game. Went 1 for 9. And once again, for a second game in this series, reverted back to pandemic P form and missed 2 crucial possible game-altering, actually not possible, definitely game-altering free throws. I texted my friends this in the group chat with the boys, right? I said, my new nickname for Paul George is Two-Face. Like the villain from, Batman, Harvey Dent. My new nickname for Paul George is Two-Face because it seems like he flips a coin every game to determine whether he wants to be elite or he wants to be just trash. No, there's no in between. There is no in between with Paul George. His consistency is all over the place. One moment you're like, oh yeah, this is PG. This is almost MVP caliber PG that we had that one year on the Thunder, right? He's hooping. This is the guy that's one of the best players in the league. Other games, you're like, this is the guy that's the joke of the league. This is why we make so many pandemic P, playoff P jokes, right? This is why. 2 weeks ago, I went on here and I said he was cured. I said he was Pfizer P. I said he had redeemed himself. Well, Paul George had himself at the brink, the ultimate opportunity of redemption, and he blew it. He blew it. He blew it. He blew it, and he continues to blow it. I really wish the best. Not that Paul George is going to see it. Maybe he does. PG, for whatever. Maybe this video blows up. PG sees this, right? PG, I don't know if it's like Ben Simmons, and this is just like a mental issue. But get it together, man. Get it together. Even though I picked the Suns, and I would probably rather see a Suns-Hawks finals, if I'm being honest. Get it together. You got to get it together. You can't have these games where you play for 3 quarters and then in the 4th quarter you just fall apart. You can't. You cannot keep doing this. We can't keep defending you, bro. We can't keep defending you. It's getting bad out here, man. If in Game 5 y'all are now down 3-1, by the way, the Suns are up 3-1. If you blow this game for a 3rd game in this series. If you lose the Clippers this series, there might be no coming back from this, bro. I'm going to be honest. There might be no coming back from this one. All right? So PG, I'm begging you. You got to get it together. DeAndre Ayton, Devin Booker, who has also has kind of dealt. Of course, he had the injuries wearing he's masked up Book. We got masked Book now. Shot a little bit better last game, but he's had some shooting percentage, efficiency issues. Him and CP3, that first game back, had a little problem there. But, hopefully they can get it together. Because, again, I think the Suns are the championship favorites with them healthy. But, nonetheless, listen, PG, get it together, Suns. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You're making me look good. DeAndre Ayton, you are that dude. Bucks, Hawks. Bucks get the win here in Game 3, 113-102. Chris Middleton. No Chris Middleton slander today, yeah? Chris Middleton slander. I'm not going to sit here and talk about what I talk about every time we talk about the Bucks, and that Middleton's not the number 2 guy on a championship winning team. We already know what I think about that, but we also, I have to say, and I've done it before on here, Chris Middleton is a very good player. He had 20 points. I think it was the second half or it was the third quarter, fourth quarter. I'm not sure which one it was. I was watching the Olympic Trials, if I'm being honest. But, yeah, Middleton did his thing, right? 38 points in this game. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Listen, the Greek Freak is a walking 30-10 here in the playoffs. He's a walking 30-10. Seems like he does it in his sleep, all right? He has no jump shot. He can't shoot, but he's still a very effective player. Ben Simmons. Hey, Giannis also can't shoot. Also, something I guess I have to talk about also in this, but I'll get to that about Scottie Pippen's, comments or whatever. But, yeah, I'll talk about that briefly. But yeah, Greek Freak did what he does. Trae Young had 35, but the big story was him turning his ankle on the ref. He wasn't really the same after that, and that could be a big, big deal. If that ankle is really sprained, that could be a problem. That could be a very, very, very big problem, and it could definitely push the Bucks to really end this series. They're up 2-1. They've got control here. After a performance like that from their 2 stars, they got to be feeling good. Hawks, kind of down bad. Y'all kind of down bad right now. Of course, it's only a 2-1. It's only a 2-1 lead. But with Trae banged up, y'all need John Collins. Y'all need Herter. You need Bogdanovich. You need Capella. They got to show up. This is still a team sport. This isn't a one-man show. No one man has ever won the championship by himself. And it will never, ever happen. It won't. It's a team sport. There's too many people. There's 5 people on the court. 10 in total. Everybody got to contribute at some semblance. If you want to win a championship, you can't just do it with one guy. So the Hawks got to prove, if they want to make the finals, that they are more than a one-man show. And it's now. You got to do it now. Because the Bucks are ready. They came to play. They trying to prove me wrong. They trying to prove everybody that's down them wrong. Right? So they come to play. They're ready. They're game. They're liable to do some weird, dumb stuff because that's Bud and that's the nature of the Bucks team. Okay, they sometimes listen. Low basketball IQ. I don't know what it is. I don't know what you want to call it. They're liable to screw up. They're probably going to screw this up. They're going to find a way to screw up. It's just whether the Hawks are able to make and take advantage of that opportunity is whether they advance and whether they get back in this series. But congrats to the Bucks. Congrats to Middleton. Y'all did y'all thing. Talking briefly here about some other stuff going on in the NBA. Draft lottery happened. Congrats to the Pistons. They got the first pick. I think the Cavs got the second pick. What is it? The Thunder, with all their 5,000 picks that Presti is assimilated for them, they still managed to drop out of that glorious top 4. Toronto's, I think, at 4 and 3. Who's 3? Is 3 the Magic? Let me look that up. Okay, here we go. Corrections. We got Detroit picking first, Houston picking second, Cleveland picking third, and Toronto picking fourth. OKC, like I said, fell to 6th. Orlando is at 5. A lot of discussion. I guess everybody pretty much presumes Cade's going to be the first overall pick. The Jalen Green disrespect is again getting kind of offensive. But y'all go ahead. Y'all let him fall to Toronto and see what happens. Listen. It's a 1A, 1B situation. I'm trying to tell y'all. I will just wait for the regular season. But I will say all 4. Listen, Toronto, jackpot. Cleveland, jackpot. Houston, jackpot. Detroit, jackpot, of course, as they got the first overall pick. Can't really go wrong with Cade, Mobley, JG, and, of course, Jalen Suggs. Can't really go wrong with any of them. I think this is a really good draft class, so any of those top 4 really made it. It's going to be interesting, though. Going to be interesting to see if we get some moves made here and what can happen. Could see some moves to that top 4, even though I'm not sure they're going to budge. I don't know what order besides Cade that it's really going to go. Everybody's making jersey swaps to all different locations, so we'll see. We'll see as we get closer on. But congrats to them. We had the Scottie Pippen issue with KD and what he said about KD. And listen, I don't agree completely with what Scottie said. I will agree with the whole the last shot thing he said about KD, because it was facts, honestly. What he said in terms of Braun would have probably, we've seen it happen. He's going to make the right play. So if the right play isn't him shooting, he's going to pass it whoever the open shooter is or who he thinks is going to be able to make that shot, right? And that's what you got to do to win. In this series, in this instance, KD didn't do that. I talked about it last week, right? Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? Whatever, when the Nets-Bucks series ended. KD, for all his greatness and everything great he did in that game, he didn't close. He didn't close that game. For whatever you want to call it, because he was tired. It's not really a good excuse here in Game 6, right? It's winning time, right? You got to make that happen. And a player of his caliber and what we know he's capable of, he's got to make a better decision than go for the turnaround 3 and I'm going to just make it because I'm KD, right? That wasn't... You could have made a bevy of much... Just do your simple pull-up mid-range and you would have won the game. You can do that with no effort at all. And do that. It's what you do. It's your signature move. He didn't really need to do that. It was a low basketball IQ play. And I've criticized KD. I criticized him last week or whatever about that. And I have to agree with Pippen on that. Even though, like I said, don't agree with everything he said. I will agree with that. And yeah, I don't really get what the big outrage about that was. Braun would make the right play in that scenario. KD, in this instance, at the very least, did not. Not to say in the future he won't make a better decision, but he should have made a better decision in Game 6, and that's why it happened, and that's why it's being talked about. Damian Lillard might want out of the Blazers, might want out of Portland. That's a big story that's emerging. I'll talk about that more as it develops. Chauncey Billups just got hired today, or was it last night, by the Blazers. That's his first coaching job. They gave him a 5-year deal. That's interesting. But, yeah. Interesting reaction to that. Dame wasn't really feeling, the reaction to, Dame's comments. Kind of felt slighted. He might want out. So we'll see how that develops. I'm sure every team in the league is going to want Damian Lillard, especially those scoring this year and that didn't make anything happen. Let's just hope he doesn't go to Brooklyn so that super team gets even more cheesy. Moving on here, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head over to the entertainment segment. Let's go to the entertainment segment, shall we? Loki, episode 3. Of course, spoiler alert, because I'm going to talk about this and Fast 9. So, if you haven't watched either one for whatever reason, well, Fast 9 is more excusable. But if you haven't watched Loki, honestly, it's on you at this point. But we're going to talk about Loki, episode 3. It was fantastic. It kind of feels like a Doctor Who episode, is what I've seen a lot of people talk about. And I can kind of see that, because we got a couple different theories branching out. I will say, Sophia DiMartino and Tom Hiddleston's... chemistry was off the charts. It was off the charts. Fantastic chemistry. And of course, Loki, the most narcissistic possibly of all. Well, I can't say he's the most, but definitely a narcissistic character, which is part of his charm. Of course, he would have fantastic chemistry with himself. Yeah, Loki and Sylvie journeying through that planet, trying to Loki basically integrity and trying to figure out what Sylvie was up to, what she wanted. It just felt like one giant mind game, but it was fun to watch. Very fun to watch. Of course, we ended on that cliffhanger with them not being able to prevent the train ship from being destroyed, not being able to fix the timeline. So we'll see what happens there, We'll see if they get saved. Maybe Mobius shows up. A lot of different things could happen. But yes, Sylvie, Loki, very, very, very interesting dynamic. Very good dynamic. It was a great episode. Very excited for episode 4. Fast 9. I gotta take a sip of water before I say this. This was, this is no exaggeration, the most ridiculous movie I've seen in quite some time. It was ridiculous. It was, the plot was kind of all over the place. It was It was ridiculous. You know, that's the best way I can put it. But my goodness, was it an entertaining movie? The set pieces, I have to give a shout out to Justin Lin, because I mean, that was wonderful. The set pieces were absolutely insane. Listen, we don't love Fast and Furious. It's up there with my favorite, you know, movie series. Okay, we don't watch Fast and the Furious for the plot, right? Even though it just has to make some semblance of sense, right? We just have to, okay, we got these characters established, blah 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 blah. It's pretty cut and dry, right? Family, Coronas, big cookout, we're stealing something, we're driving cars, bunch of crazy stuff, women, good music, blah, 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 blah. You get it. That's a Fast and Furious movie, okay? It's nothing different. It's not going to do anything crazy. The only thing crazy is the set pieces, the cars, and just the insanity and the scale of this movie, which was insane. It was insane. Like I just said, it was insane. If you're looking for an Oscar-winning, you know, whatever, this ain't it. But the set pieces, the action, it was there. Dominic Toretto is a menace to society, an absolute menace to society. I mean, all of them are menace. Lenny's a menace to society. Spoiler alert, Brian O'Connor showing up at the end. We didn't really see him, but we saw the car. That was a nice way to end the movie. Shout out to that. Seeing more about the Toretto family, that was actually good. Honestly, I loved all those flashback scenes, even though the 1989 doesn't really match up with their ages in the timeline, but whatever. It was cool to see some backstory about Dom and Jacob and Mia. And, speaking of Mia, oh my goodness, Jordana Brewster still got it, man. Listen, Mia Toretto / O'Connor will for always be my childhood crush. Jordana Brewster, I love you, okay? I love you. Mia O'Connor, Mia Toretto, she's wife forever. Forever, ever. Forever, ever. So fine. So fine. But honestly, great movie. Han's adopted daughter, she was great. I mean, she was nice with it. Frances Ngannou, Cardi. This movie was wild, but I loved it. Honestly, I might go see it again if somebody wants to go see it again. It was that good. It was good. It was a good movie. In the sense that it was an entertaining movie. It was good as an entertainment movie. Also, I saw it at the theaters. Even though it's been nice watching movies at home, there's nothing like the theaters. I gotta say, it's nothing like that atmosphere, and especially if you have a good crowd with you in the theater, that atmosphere can only be heightened if you don't got a bunch of people doing a bunch of weird stuff. So yeah, great experience, great for Fast 9, loved it. Quickly heading over to music, we had Tyler the Creator. My goodness, dude is extremely talented, man. He is extremely talented. Call Me If You Get Lost. I'm gonna give it a 9.3 right now. It's definitely one of my albums of the year. And that could go higher depending on how I feel about the listens. The production on this was insane. It was so good. I could select a number of standout tracks. I'll talk about Wheelchair because that was a great storytelling track. You know, I love me a storytelling track. And because I was able to relate. Honestly, I was able to relate. I've been in the scenario. I've been Tyler in that Wheelchair scenario many times. Probably too many times, honestly. I've been that guy that's... Listen to the song, okay, and understand the song. I'm not going to get into my personal life. But I've been Tyler in that scenario way too many times, so that kind of hit home, and he was just rapping. He was rapping on this album, so I can appreciate that. Shout out to Tyler. Also, Aitch. I know Artie's got the hype, but Aitch dropped a single. That was fire. I've listened to a little bit of it. Haven't listened to the full thing. It was kind of short, but Aitch, he's the real white boy when it comes to the UK scene. Yeah, shout out to Aitch. That was good stuff. Shout out to Tyler, one of the albums of the year, and that was entertainment. Okay, now let's get to Euros. Of course, this will probably be changing, as always, because there's games today. We have Croatia, Spain, France, Switzerland. I'll get to that after I talk about what's already happened here in the round of 16. Denmark. It's nice to see this. It's nice to say this. I must admit, it is nice to see Denmark playing well without Eriksen, because that was really just an unfortunate situation. It sucked for everybody involved. So, I have to admit, it is nice to see Denmark doing what they do, and they beat the crap out of Wales. I mean... They killed Wales. I mean, it wasn't even close. Shout out to Casper Dolberg, Wonder Kid, former Wonder Kid. Kind of disappeared, after, everything he did at Ajax was very, very highly regarded. Honestly, I saw somebody say he was Haaland before Haaland. He's what we thought Haaland is what we thought Dolberg was going to be. And yeah, that was kind of on point. I have to admit that was kind of on point as a comparison. So yeah, nice to see Dolberg get back. He got the brace here. Was a big reason why Denmark advanced. Italy took on Austria. They get the win 2-1. Federico Chiesa has put in a bunch of great performances this past season and here in the Euros. So shout out to Chiesa. He got the goal. All 3 goals scored in extra time. Marathon game here. Austria tried to fight back, wasn't enough. Pesena put it away. So shout out to Italy. They advanced. Their defense has been impeccable. I think this was actually the first time they scored. They got scored on in like 14 matches. It was crazy. Shout out to Donnarumma. Shout out to that Italian defense. On the other hand, Matthijs de Ligt, former Golden Boy, former Wonder Kid, a guy many believe was going to be the future world's best defender, was not too great at defending in this game versus the Czech Republic. An egregious red card. I mean, why would you handball it? What brain fart or whatever you want to call it would make you do something like what de Ligt did here? It wasn't even necessary. It wasn't even necessary. I don't know. I guess he forgot he was a soccer player or a footballer. I don't know what happened. But ultimately, it cost the Netherlands the game. Czech Republic, they've been great so far. I have to say, they might be kind of a dark horse here in the Euros, making a little bit of a run. Patrick Schick, I have to give a shout out to. He's making himself some money in this series. And with another thing that happened in the game I'll talk about next, he might be going for that golden boot. Schick has been fantastic. He's been a scoring machine. And is currently the top scorer in the Euros. But yeah, shout out to Schick, de Ligt. What are you doing? I mean, the whole Netherlands team. Genie, they just played terrible. Czech Republic, completely deserved. Belgium took out Portugal. Portugal, just way too many missed opportunities. Joao Felix, I got to point the finger at you. I got to point the finger at the Portugal manager because why didn't Andre Silva, for all the goals he scored, why not play him more? He played, I think, 30 minutes this entire series. You might as well not call him up. Dude scored 40 goals past 2 seasons. I don't know how he's not in the game when you need a goal here. Belgium dealt with some injuries here. KDB, Eden Hazard. Though Thorgan got the winner. Got to deal with those injuries. This is, like I said, might be the last stand for the golden generation. And, yeah, Lukaku, he's been fantastic. You're definitely world-class, Rom. I gave Big Rom before he even said that article came out. I said it last week. I've said it throughout the season. Rom is world-class, one of the best strikers in the world. Say it. Say it. Say it with me. Yeah, Belgium gets it done. Portugal, sorry. CR7 might be his last Euros. We'll see. We'll see. Would suck to see if him go out like this, but it is what it is. Portugal let him down. Renato Sanchez didn't have the greatest game, even though he's had a great Euros. Didn't have a great game. Just really all of their attackers just wasn't great. It wasn't great. Might need to be a change of management for Portugal, if I'm being honest. And like I said today, and actually what's about to come on right now, because it's actually 11:56 as I'm saying this, we got Croatia versus Spain in the Euros round of 16. Should be an interesting one. I wouldn't be surprised to see Croatia advance. Spain, I'm not too sold on, so I could see the upset there. France and Switzerland, we got France looking to defend their title of world best. Of course, not defending their Euros title. That was Portugal, which means we're going to have a new champion. Will it be the world champions? They got to take out Switzerland first and get back in form. Let's see. Germany taking on England. Should be an interesting matchup. 2 teams that have been up and down, so I don't know what's going to go on there. But that's probably going to be a pretty must-watch matchup there. And of course, Sweden and Ukraine, battle of the blues and yellows. So that should be a very, very interesting see who moves on there. But yeah, those are the rest of the cards. We'll see what happens today between the 2 matchups we got today and the matchups tomorrow. But yeah, that was Euros. Now heading over to the NHL quickly. They're also in their conference finals, similar to the NBA. And, well, actually, we're done with the conference finals. Let me correct that. We're on to the Stanley Cup finals, ladies and gentlemen. Vegas. I'm getting too close to Barkley numbers with the NHL. Actually, I got one of them right, so not completely Barkley. But, yeah, Montreal, listen, I'm sorry. Maybe I should pick against you again in the Stanley Cup finals. And I just might. But, Carey Price, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield. Oh, my goodness. Wonderful in this series. Caulfield's been wonderful. I mean, he's got to be the Calder favorite, right? He is putting on for the Short Kings. If you did not draft him because of his size, you look like a fool now. You really do look like a fool now. So shout out to Caulfield. Suzuki's been great all playoffs. Carey Price is Carey Price, okay? He's Carey Price for a reason. His reputation precedes himself, and he's been the man. He's been the man. But I have to give a shout out to Lekkonen. He gets the OT winner here, 3-2. Eliminates Vegas in 6. The Montreal Canadiens. Who would have thought? They are headed to the Stanley Cup Finals, where they will be taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning. They take out the Islanders 1-0. Varley, Vasily. Listen, it was inevitable we were going to have matchups like this with two great goalkeepers. I said great goalkeepers. Two great goalies like we have here in Vasilevsky and Varlamov, the two Vs. It was inevitable. But, yeah. Finally, we're able to break Braden Point's 14-goal streak. Leads the playoffs, of course. But yeah, Point making himself a bunch of money. He's been dominant in this playoffs. Kucherov's also been great, but they're going to need him to be healthy. Got a little knocked up in this. Going to need Kuch to be healthy. I think that's going to be big next series if they want to defend their title. They get the Islanders out of here in 7. We saw Barzell pretty emotional. But this is very, very, honestly, this was a great run and a very important run, I think, long-term for the Islanders to show that they're contenders, show that they're for real, show that they got something to work with. And, yeah, being beaten by the defending champions, no shame. We'll see if they can defend their title because that brings us to the Lightning versus the Canadiens. And Canadiens fans, I haven't picked for you. Actually, I think I picked you in the Toronto series. Or maybe I didn't. I'm not sure. But I'm going to help you guys out, and I'm going to pick against you. I've been almost 500, I think, predictions-wise in the NHL. I think the Lightning defend their title, so maybe Montreal gets it done. Maybe this is reverse psychology. I wouldn't mind the Canadiens and Cole Caulfield repping for the Americans and the Short Kings getting it done, I wouldn't mind that, so I'm going to pick against you. I think the Lightning get it done. Point is putting up a Conn Smythe-worthy campaign right now. I think they just got too good defensively, too good offensively. Vasilevsky, you could probably say, is the best goalie in the world. I mean, him and Carey Price, it doesn't get much better than that, honestly, as a goalie matchup. So we'll see. We'll see if the Young Guns of Montreal can get it done or if the Lightning can establish their long-awaited dynasty. Should be a very, very entertaining and a very good Stanley Cup Finals. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to my final major topic of the day. And that, of course, is honestly one of my favorite things to watch, and that's the Olympic Trials, track and field. Listen, track and field people, welcome back. This is your segment. If you skip right to it, this is the goods, and we had the goods. We definitely had the goods here. Going through once again pretty fast because we got a lot of people to talk about. Women's 200 happened this week. Gabby Thomas qualified. She won with a 21.61, second fastest time behind Flojo, so shout out to Gabby. Loved her development so far in her career. She's been great. Harvard graduate and a track star. Doesn't get much better than that. Jenna Prandini also made it. A Navia battle. So, yeah, pretty stiff competition. Tamara Clark from the 336. So close to Alabama standout. So close to making the Olympics here. Allison finished 5th. But shout out to Gabby, Jenna, and Avaria. Women's 800. A ting mo. Oh, she is the truth. She is nothing but the truth. A star, I have to say. I tweeted this out also. I'm so excited for this generation, which is kind of my generation, which kind of makes me proud. Of between 23 and 17-year-olds, that we got this new generation of track and field in the U.S. It's amazing. It's amazing, the talent level. It's insane. Ating Mu, dominant win here in the Olympic Trials. She beats out Raven Rogers and Aitch Wilson, who joined her on the Olympic team. But yeah, Ating, she's a beast. She's so good. Probably could have done work in the 400, but she gets it done in the 800 here. Women's 1500, we got Ellie Pierre St. Pierre, Corey McGee, and Heather McLean making it. Women's 5,000, Elise Craney, Carissa Schweitzer, Rachel Snyder. The women's 10,000, we got Emily Sisson, Carissa Schweitzer, and Alicia Monson making the team there. Race walk was won by Robin Stevens, but it's also same thing in the men's race walk. We got nobody with the Olympic standard. We'll see what goes on there. We'll see if we get anybody that makes it there, even though we did have definitive winners. But what I really want to talk about here for track and field is Sid the Kid. The women's 400-meter hurdles. Listen, we're going to have 1, 2. We know this. But my. Sydney Mclaughlin. Generational talent. She's been the one to watch for quite a while now. And she's taking her crown from Delia Muhammad, who previously had the world record. It seems like every time they face in the finals, the world record falls, and it fell once again. Sydney Mclaughlin ran a 5:19, which is insane. That could technically qualify for the Olympic trials in the 400. She did that with the 400 hurdles. Sydney's insane. Delia Muhammad is also insane. She ran a 52:42. Shout to Anna Cockrell. She's been running so much. She did the double and won at the NCAAs. Came back the next week. Almost made the 100-meter hurdles, but she makes it here in the 400-meter hurdles. Real emotional moment. Happy that my 3 girls, right, my 3 favorites, probably amongst my 3 favorite, female track athletes, all made it in Mclaughlin, Muhammad, and Cockrell. So we love it. Fight on. Moving on, heptathlon, Annie Kunis, Kendall Williams, Erica Bugard make the team there. Let's see. Women's javelin, Maggie Malone makes it along with Cara Winger. Women's long jump, Tara Davis. Shout out to Tara. She's also got a YouTube, so shout out to Tara. Texas Hook'em. Her and Brittany Reese along with Quanisha Burks made it. Brittany Reese, I think this is her 4th or 5th Olympics. She's up there with Allison in terms of that. Let's see. Men's 200. The big story was Arian Knighton, the 17-year-old phenom, the future of American track, and certainly looks like he might be the future of just track and field. He makes the Olympic team, ran a 19.84. He was beating Lyles all week, but Noah showed up when it mattered. He got the 19.74 fastest time this year. He'll go into Tokyo as the favorite. Kenny Bernard right there with him with a 19.78. And of course, like I said, Knighton with the 19.84. They all make the team. Knighton, the youngest American male track athlete since 1964, I think, to make the Olympics. So yeah, bright future for him. Hopefully he stays healthy. Moving on, Cole Hawker, bro. Cole Hawker he is a dog, bro. The kick he has on his 1500 is insane. He doesn't have the Olympic standard, but I think he's going to qualify anyway. He beats out Centrowitz. They've been entertaining all week. Yared Naguse, shout out to him. He makes it. Ingles just doesn't make the Olympic team, but shout out to Hawker and Central. They were great. Shout out to Oregon. Paul Chalimo, 336. He gets it in the 5,000 alongside Winnie Kincaid and Grant Fisher. Kincaid and Fisher also make the 10,000 along with Joe Klecker. Grant Hallway nearly broke the world record in, I think, the semis. Doesn't break it in the final, but he'll probably break it at Tokyo. He's the best in the world. There's nobody on Grant's level. 12.96, 110. He makes it alongside Devin Allen and Daniel Roberts, who I probably would have predicted to make it here. Rai Benjamin also almost broke the world record in the 400-meter hurdles. He ran a 46.83. Fight on again, Rai, beast. Listen, the talent level is insane. Kenny Salmon, David Kenzera also make it in the 400-meter there. And Javon Harrison, shout out to him. He wins both the high jump and the long jump. Dude's got the best. He's the best hops in the world, right? He's going to contend for Olympic gold and see if he can do the double at the Olympics. That'd be insane if he does that this year. But he's got a very good chance. He's going high jump. He's joined with Daryl Sylvan and Shelby McEwen. In the long jump, he's joined by Marquise Dendy and Stephen McCarter. And yeah, that about covers it. Should be fun. I can't wait for Tokyo. Olympic trials were super fun to watch. Honestly, if there was a sport I wish that had more attention, amongst other sports that I wish had more attention, but honestly, like, if we had like a bi-weekly, like, I know we have Diamond League, but if it had more media coverage, I'd watch track and talk about track every single week on this if I could. Honestly, it's so entertaining. It's so entertaining to watch, and Olympic time always gets us out of our seats. It gets everybody. That's why it's probably the most watched event. I guess cumulatively, obviously, but just individually in the world. So yeah, track and field, the Olympics. Can't wait. Should be good. We got a lot of American talent, man. It's the new generation. We here. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup. And, well, we'll kick it off with some racing. Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch win at Pocono, excuse me. They win in Pocono. They do the double. Bowman, I think this is his second or third win this year. I know this is Kyle Busch's second. Glad to see Kyle, playing with the big boys instead of playing with the Xfinity Series and winning 100 races there. Even though you're just so much better than everybody else, it's not really very entertaining. It doesn't really make much sense why you race, besides just the love of racing. I mean, listen, I'm very much so against, if you are a top level racer in the top series, why it's like if Shohei Ohtani, since we're gonna talk about him later on, it's like if he went down to AAA and AA and beat up on them and threw a bunch of no hitters and hit a bunch of 400-run games, right? And then came back up, right? And we celebrated him for that. He's just beating up on the younger generation who aren't as good as you and don't have the same equipment. So I'm not for that, but he does show he's got the goods. I mean, he's Kyle Busch. He's one of the best in the world. He gets it done in Pocono along with Bowman. Staying in the racing, but going over to F1. Max Verstappen's hot. He's hot. He wins the Styrian Grand Prix and takes the season lead from Lewis Hamilton. So we got something good brewing in F1. Shout out to Max for getting the win. Shout out to Red Bull. Diana Taurasi is the first to 9K points in the WNBA. Shout out to the GOATs, the White Mamba. Shout out to Diana. She gets it done. Gets to 9K. That's a huge accomplishment. For those that don't know, and it's like, hey, why is 9K? I mean, we got the NBA, we got people in 20. First off, WNBA plays much less games. Also, the WNBA games are shorter than the NBA, so for a lot of people wondering why the scoring totals aren't as high as the NBA, it's a shorter game, so they can't score as much. So hopefully that helps you out there. But yeah, Taurasi, first woman ever to 9K in the WNBA. Shout out to her. MLB, of course, this roundup is kind of descended into the MLB while we've had a bunch of other topics to talk about. Though we'll probably have a full NBA segment next week. We'll talk about it here. Substance checks have been a big thing. As a Yankees fan, I'm well aware because Garrett Cole has been trashed since he got rid of his tar or whatever they've been. Listen, it's not a fun time to be the Yankees, but at least the Dodgers are also in the same boat. They also suck. But yeah, substance checks have created a flurry of very entertaining moments here in the MLB with the unbuckling of pants and just kind of all the strip shows and all that type of stuff. It's been, kind of hilarious to see Max Scherzer get annoyed or, whatever the reaction is. It's been kind of entertaining, even though it's kind of sometimes pointless, but I get it. Got to make sure they ain't doing it. Wasn't going to talk about Vladdy, Tatis, or Ohtani like I said earlier. Well, not earlier, but I wasn't going to talk about them this week, right? But then Tatis hit a 3 home run game in which the first 3 at-bats he had, inside 5 innings, he hit 3 home runs. So, have to talk about Tatis. Despite being the worst defensive shortstop in the league, which is quite a turnaround from what he was last year. Him being that good offensively, keeping him in near MVP conversation as one of, at least the most exciting players in the league, despite his defensive shortcomings due to injury this year. It's been it's quite a contrast. But yeah, Tatis 25 home runs this season, second in the league. He's been great. He's been great offensively, not so great defensively, but he's still must watch. And again, glad the Padres have such a very very entertaining superstar because they definitely deserve it in San Diego. Ohtani nearly had the cycle. I wasn't going to talk about him at all, even though he's been great this week also. Not like he was last week, but he was great this week again. But wasn't going to talk about him. But he hit for the cycle and had a stolen base. Was a single short of the cycle, but he had a walk. So, I mean, you can go whatever you want with that. Had an insane home run. Dude, a starting pitcher is leading the league in home runs. This does not make any sense. This is a very historic season. I almost love Ohtani more than I love the Yankees at this point, and that should tell you how much Ohtani, how good he is, how entertaining he is, but also how bad the Yankees have been this year and how painful it's been to watch them, but how joyous it's been able to watch the Angels with Ohtani. Please, Mike Trout, get healthy so we can see both of them at it again. That was so much fun to watch. But congrats to Ohtani. He's been great. Aaron Nola, big shout out before I end here. 10 straight Ks in a row. MLB record. Shout out to Nola. Great job there. Philly's been, this year. But, yeah, shout out to Nola. Great job. 10 Ks. Pitching still been kind of wild. I know the league average is like 238. So, we'll see what the scenario is there, even without the tar. But, nonetheless, hope this was a very good episode. I think it was a very good episode. It was, again, another stacked, probably a very long episode. But, yeah. Hopefully, I lived up to my best in the world claim I made earlier this year, and will continue to do it. I feel like those numbers are gonna change. I just have this suspicious feeling that the numbers are gonna start to, change very, very soon. And yeah, also guest coming back very soon, very soon. Got some things in the works there, but without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed today's episode 47. I need to rest my voice and I need to edit this so I can get this out at some point in time today. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Ocho signing off.